Then, now,
acknowledge me.
You can't see me.
forever. Together.
Escucha. The backlash is coming.
Backlash from the beach. Looks beautiful, but looks can be deceiving. It's anything but a vacation.
When I was a boy, I dreamed of something bigger, better, louder.
Two-time Grammy Award-winning global recording artist Bad Bunny will host Backlash from San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Tonight, on my island, revenge is the soundtrack.
Is Lesnar here to be Cody's partner? Wait a second! What the hell are we witnessing here? Now our unfinished tale has a whole new wrinkle to it.
We have a Kevin Owens problem. We have a Sami Zayn problem. We have a riddle to solve.
This the reason we came. They'll remember my name.
My friend, Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny just dropped
We
off!
all know what can happen.
Hey Damian, I'm going to Puerto Rico to kick your ass. In a street fight, cabrón, a ver si es verdad que tú eres hombre.
Me busca lo mío.
Puerto Rico, my heart is racing for this one.
Me busca lo mío.
Things are about to get muy caliente.
Sometimes it feels good to be bad.
And now, live from San Juan, Puerto Rico, the Xfinity 10G Network and Mike's Harder Lemonade present WWE Backlash.
Welcome to the Island of Enchantment, a paradise of world-class beaches, great adventures, and experiences, where you enjoy every last ray of sun. This is Puerto Rico, and you are looking live at the Coliseo de Puerto Rico in San Juan. Sold out, a late arriving crowd of 17,944 WWE fans will be here tonight for the first premium live event in Puerto Rico in over 18 years. Welcome to WWE Backlash. And hello again, everybody. We are so excited to be here tonight at ringside from Friday Night SmackDown to Michael Cole. He's Corey Graves from Monday Night Raw. We have a double main event tonight. Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. And how about the San Juan street fight as Damian Priest of the Judgment Day battles one of the biggest stars on the planet, Bad Bunny. Also here with us tonight at ringside, our Spanish announce team, Marcelo Rodriguez and Jerry Soto.
Cabalga familia, como diría el gran Triple H, están listos para Backlash. Tú estás listo, yo estoy listo, el mundo está listo, Puerto Rico y Latinoamérica listos para Backlash.
I'm on my own against the wall. The pressure building, but I will never fall. It's at a climb, they hear me roar, and now I see that I'm way better than before. I never needed you at all. Think I fall down, I'ma watch you fall down.
Bianca Belair tonight, Corey, looking to make history with a victory. She would become the longest reigning women's champion of the modern era in WWE. And what we've known for some time now is you simply cannot bet against the EST. Bianca Belair never needs to get ready because she stays ready. What a reaction for the Raw Women's Champion, who has held the title since WrestleMania of last year. Belair has no intentions of losing her coveted title anytime soon.
Man, this place is nuclear, Cole. What an atmosphere.
And she is known as the genius of the sky. Io Sky with an opportunity after winning a triple threat match a few weeks ago to try to knock off Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. Now you notice, Corey, Io is coming out to the ring solo tonight. Does not have Bayley and Dakota Kai, her damage control partners, with her. Perhaps this is a good thing with Io. There's been a lot being made on social media about Io Sky being held back by Bayley.
Well, perhaps that's how Io is beginning to feel internally, or maybe Io just wants to pick up a decisive victory without any sort of caveats, without any sort of also-rans in damage control. This could be a massive career-changing night for Io Sky.
The following contest scheduled for one fall is for the Raw Women's Championship! Introducing the challenger, representing Damage Control, from Osaka, Japan, Io Sky! And her opponent from Knoxville, Tennessee, she is the Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair!
Bianca, a first-round draft pick of Friday Night SmackDown. Io Sky, of course, will be part of the blue brand as well. Corey, what does the challenger, Io Sky, need to do to try to knock off Bianca Belair here tonight?
Io needs to not crumble in the pressure of the moment. Bianca Belair exudes a true championship aura. It's difficult not to get caught in the glitz and the glamour of the moment. If Io can stay on task, she's got a good shot tonight.
Io Sky, a former NXT Women's Champion, two-time Women's Tag Team Champion, massive star in the country of Japan for many, many years. And tonight looks to take the top of the ladder from Bianca Belair.
And I think Io needs to stick with what brought her to the dance. Utilize her aerial abilities. Io knows full well she's not going to win a power battle with the EST.
Io Sky being backed by the majority of the WWE fans here tonight in San Juan, Puerto Rico. For Bianca Belair, current Raw Women's Champion, former SmackDown Women's Champ, former Royal Rumble winner as well. Looking to use her power, but Io Sky now a nice headlock takedown by Bianca. For Belair, what does she need to do, Corey, to retain the championship?
Belair does not need to change anything. You mentioned this incredible reign that we are in the midst of experiencing for Bianca Belair. Bianca just needs to be the EST.
SmackDown heads to the University of Tennessee this coming Friday night. Bianca would love to bring the championship in tow.
And you just saw the acknowledgement on the face of Bianca Belair. The WWE Universe tonight in San Juan firmly behind Io Sky. This is unfamiliar territory for Belair.
Covered by Bianca and a kick out.
When you're a superstar like Belair who feeds off of the WWE Universe, this can really throw you for a mental loop. Oh!
But thus far, Bianca Belair is handling it very nicely. Shoulder tackle from the champ.
Markings of a true champion.
Belair so athletic. Io Sky, wow, athletic in her own right.
And Belair rolls through.
Bianca caught Io with an elbow, now from the second rope. Bianca gonna land on her feet. Oh, nice drop kick, down goes Io.
Use the ire of the WWE Universe as fuel that could actually benefit the Raw Women's Champion a great deal.
And Bianca off the power slam. And again, woman handling Io Sky in the beginning of this matchup. And that's what Bianca's got to do. Just use the power game.
Io might be trying to break Bianca's grip. Able to escape out the backside onto the apron. And
a wise move by Io. Trying to take out the left arm of Bianca Belair and take away some of that power. Grabbing the hair of Belair. Io's got to be careful. Remember, champion's advantage tonight.
Look at this.
Got a 5 count and breaks before the official, Jason Ayers, can count to 5.
And Io knows full well she's got 5 seconds to break the hold, but you can inflict a great deal of damage. Much like that.
And Corey, again, the strategy now being turned to the left arm of Bianca Belair. Wise, because if you take out the arm, you take out the power, which is what Bianca bases her game on.
Absolutely right. Io targeting the left arm of the champion. Belair able to kick the challenger off for the moment, but Io just soldiering forward.
Again, Io needs to tap or pin Bianca Belair to win the championship tonight. Our opening bout at WWE Backlash sold out in San Juan, Puerto Rico. 17,944 WWE fans on hand.
Take another look at the unique offense of Io Sky. A double stomp to the elbow might have hyperextended Belair's arm.
It is electric here tonight at the Coliseo de Puerto Rico in San Juan. Mirroring the atmosphere of last night on Friday Night SmackDown. It's been an incredible couple of days here in Puerto Rico.
I'm not going to lie, I'm a little jealous you got 2 nights here.
Nice takedown by Io Sky, and as this match continues, Io just growing in confidence.
Belair possesses that game-changing power, even with one arm. Bianca so strong, one maneuver can completely change the complexion of any matchup.
It allows her to create some space. Io able to dip underneath. Ooh! Catches Bianca with a couple of forearms.
And Io's got the arm captured behind Belair's back. This is brilliant.
And again, the WWE Universe here in San Juan firmly behind the challenger. And driving the injured arm of Belair into the turnbuckle. This has been almost flawless strategy for the challenger.
And you're absolutely right. You have to wonder if Belair was expecting Io to take 2 disguise from the opening bell. Not a submission-based attack from the challenger.
Yeah, and a much more physical attack from Io Sky as well.
Standing dragon sleeper here by Io.
Taking Bianca down. Roll through now by Io Sky, and again right to the injured arm. And Bianca writhing in pain, the champ's in trouble.
With each passing offensive maneuver, it's as though Io Sky grows more and more confident.
Did you expect this type of attack out of Io tonight?
Absolutely not. I would have bet money that Io would have taken to the Sky much earlier on.
And to your point earlier, perhaps that was what Bianca was expecting, and Io has completely taking the champ out of her game.
Great game plan.
Nobody home. Io knee first into the turnbuckle. Bianca back to her feet now, and the champ looking to rally. Elbow to the side of the face. Belair able to step through the ropes and drives a shoulder into the midsection.
Double underhook chicken wing. Counter by Sky.
Oh, stop to the gut. And Io is fired up.
Take another look at this. Bianca Belair with the injured arm, unable to hold the challenger upright long enough to execute her third move.
Cover for the title and a kick out at 2.
We're half a second away from a new Raw Women's Champion.
WWE fans loving the opening bout tonight for the Raw Women's Championship. Bianca Belair defending against Io Sky. Both of these women will be a part of Friday Night SmackDown as the draft takes full effect this coming Monday.
Both competitors exchanging heavy right hands in the center of the ring.
A very knowledgeable sports entertainment audience in Puerto Rico. For over 50 years, this sport has been such an important part of this island. As Belair and Io Sky fight in the middle of the ring. Bianca Belair trying to raise her ire.
Around we go, and Belair put the brakes on. Tremendous power.
Oh! Backbreaker, knee to the spine.
Incredible.
But the arm. Belair may have re-injured the arm.
Well, Belair was able to put the brakes on Io's momentum and deliver a backbreaker, but to your point, Cole, the left arm still bothering Belair. And now it's Bianca Belair attempting to dig down deep and begin a rally of sorts.
Clothesline by Bianca. And another one. Drop kick. Down goes the challenger. Belair getting a second wind.
The adrenaline beginning to flow through the champion.
Vertical suplex by Belair.
Belair fighting through the pain to deliver the stalling vertical suplex.
And now, Corey, the confidence is back with the champion.
In the face of adversity in front of a hostile WWE Universe tonight in San Juan, the EST turning the tides. Io able to shove the champion off. Creates a momentary separation, and what a right by the champ.
Yes, stunning right hand by the champion Belair. Bianca,
no way.
Once again, looking to military press. Io Sky high above her head. One arm. You gotta be kidding me. Oh, God. Io face first into the mat.
That's gotta do it.
And Belair looking to put her away. Off the moonsault to retain the championship. Sky kick.
An incredible display of power with one arm, driving the challenger face first into the center of the ring. A picture-perfect moonsault on the money, but somehow Io Sky kicks out.
Slide up over the top, and now snapmare by Belair. Io using her quickness, shoulder first, bad arm again. Bianca missed with the right. Io able to block, and here comes the challenger. And now Io's gonna fly.
Oh! Might have torn Belair's shoulder clean out of the socket. The challenger is rolling.
Io Sky is feeling it. Could this be her night? Top rope, missile drop kick, driving Belair right out of the ring. Now that may have been the best thing to happen to the champion.
Yeah, I think tonight the EST might mean luckiest. Drop kick right to the heart of the champion. And Belair sent to the outside by the momentum.
Io heading to the top rope. Belair, though, quickly meets her there, knocks her off the top. And now Bianca Belair looks to take control. The champ up to the top rope. Oh, knees up for Sky.
Bianca wanted the 450 splash. Io got the knees up, crossface. Crossface is in.
Middle of the ring. Champ nowhere to go. Is Belair going to tap? Is Io going to tap out the champion? Bianca trying to somehow get back to a vertical base and able to work her way out of the submission.
Champion thankful for her powerful legs in that instance.
Oh, face first. Io Sky into the cover of Belair, and another near fall for the challenger.
A look of shock washing over the face of the challenger. A great counter by Io Sky, driving the champion face first. But yet again, not enough to crown a new champion.
What an incredible atmosphere here tonight in San Juan. Belair defending the Raw Women's Championship against Io Sky. leads into the corner. Belair lands on her feet. Io rolls through. Went for the stop. Belair avoided.
Belair learned from past mistakes, and here we go!
KOD time for the champion. Sky able to send Belair out of the ring.
Io with a moment of respite, but the challenger knows she needs to get Bianca back inside the ring to become champion. Champion's advantage dictates that the title only changes hands via pinfall or submission.
And now Belair gonna try to drag Io Sky out of the ring. Bianca handstand to the apron and a kick by the challenger.
Kick might have driven all of the wind out of the champion. And now Io.
To the top rope. Moonsault. Down goes Belair.
Io needs to get Bianca back in the ring. Time is running low. We look yet again at a breathtaking moonsault all the way to the floor. Io right on the money.
Champ back in the ring. Io Sky with an opportunity. Again, gonna cover the champion. Isn't it up this time? And a kick out again at 2. For the many, many months that Bianca Belair has been Raw Women's Champion, I don't think she's ever been through a battle like she is tonight.
No doubt about it. Io Sky is testing the limits of the Raw Women's Champion. Could come down to which of these two women is willing, which of these two women is able to dig down deeper, to find that next gear to finish the job. Io just bulldozing the champion in the corner now. Belair perched on top.
And now, oh, and Io Sky, ooh, knocked hard, hit spine first to the apron.
Io was able to mitigate her own impact. And a shote right under the chin of the champion. What is the genius cooking up here?
Top rope. Uh-oh, Belair able to hold on.
With one arm.
Again, Belair able to counter. Belair from the second rope. Io Sky high above the ring. Massive powerbomb.
That's gotta do it.
Cover by the champion. Hooks the inside leg and Sky kicks it too.
My God. This building is legitimately rumbling right now after what we just witnessed.
Because, Corey, this is the Io Sky the WWE Universe has been waiting for.
And this is the true test of a champion if you're Bianca Belair. Doubt begins to creep in. And here comes Dakota Kai and Bayley.
Yeah, the other members of Io Sky's Damage Control. And Bayley up on the apron causing a distraction. Io Sky grabbing the ponytail of Belair. Belair with a right. Io is up.
Dakota now.
Dakota set off the apron. Io roll, shoulders down to win the title. To win the title, Belair kicking it too. Io Sky was that close.
Keep your foot on the gas pedal, Io. You've got the champion reeling. Uh-oh, now Bayley.
Bayley set into the ropes.
Bayley trying to be dumped to the outside by Belair.
And now Dakota Kai with a kick. The champ's down. The official never saw it. Io Sky with an opportunity. Changes
got Bianca's brain.
In the official Jason Ayers corner. Wait for the moonsault. Belair able to move out of harm's way. And now Bianca Belair hoisting up Io Sky to the KOD. Bianca retains.
I'm on my own against the wild.
Here is your winner, and still the Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair!
Bianca Belair will now become the longest reigning women's champion of the modern era. But what a performance by Io Sky, and Corey, I believe Io may have gotten the job done if it wasn't for Bayley.
Oh, you're not alone in that assessment. I completely agree with you. I understand that Bayley's intentions were to help her damage control teammate, but I think Bayley might have overstepped her bounds a little bit, and it ended up costing the challenger.
And again, watch Dakota Kai with a kick to Bianca Belair. And right there, it looked like Io Sky was going to be able to close on to the moonsault, but then Bayley got involved.
WWE official Jason Ayers caught Bayley in her attempt to aid Io, which opened the door for the EST to deliver the KOD. And still,
Bianca Belair's record-setting reign continues, but the other headline tonight is what a performance by Io Sky.
No need to hang your head tonight, Io. You presented a worthy challenge to the Raw Women's Champion.
Against the wild. The pressure's building, but like I will never fall.
¿Qué pasó, Bunny? Oye, agradecido por haberme salvado ayer. Y más que eso, por haberte puesto la camiseta de otro amigo.
Orgullo, gracias a ti por todo siempre.
Increíble. ¿Listo para hoy?
Estamos ready. Estoy un poco nervioso, pero...
No, los nervios son buenos, vas a romper madre,
sí,
yo sé que sí. Tengo un amigo que quiere pasar a saludarte.
Claro.
Y te trae un obsequio.
Claro que sí. ¡Tío Sabio!
Hey, ¿qué pasó? Mira, aquí te quiero presentar el Kendo Boricua. El primer Kendo Boricua. Aquí quiero que le partas a la madre a Damian Priest porque es un tecato, es un morón. ¿Está bien?
Cuenta con eso.
Con Rey Mysterio, con Bad Bunny en Backlash. Las cosas son a nuestra manera.
O para calle, buñera.
Well, it wouldn't be WWE in Puerto Rico without Savio Vega. Nonetheless, this is an unbelievable place. That's the coastline here in San Juan, an island of world-class beaches is Puerto Rico. Well, ladies and gentlemen, incredible performance by Bianca Belair and Io Sky moments ago. Both of Bianca and Io will be a part of the Friday Night SmackDown roster. The draft, of course, a couple of weeks ago goes into effect this Monday night on Raw, and boy, the Red Brand is stacked.
Some seriously heavy hitters coming to Monday night. Off the top of my head, how about the Intercontinental Champion Gunther and all of Imperium? You've, of course, got the linchpins in Rollins and Rhodes. Rhea Ripley, the SmackDown Women's Champion. I mean, Monday night's going to be a lot of fun.
Also, there's some free agents involved. Of course, Brock Lesnar, the Beast, who we'll see in our double main event later tonight, will be a free agent. Now, over on Friday Night SmackDown on the Blue Brand, man, we have a number of superstars as well, including AJ Styles in the OC, Bobby Lashley, Edge, Austin Theory, the Bloodline, of course, headlined by Roman Reigns, who is the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. So since Roman Reigns was drafted to Friday Night SmackDown, it means there's a brand new title on Monday Night Raw, the World Heavyweight Championship.
And this coming Monday on Raw, we kick off the World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. The winner of Monday's tournament will go on to face the winner of Friday Night SmackDown's tournament May 27th at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia to determine the new World Heavyweight Champion.
The tournament begins this Monday on Raw. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Backlash returns after this break with Seth freaking Rollins taking on Omos. But for those of you on Peacock Premium Plus, let's take a closer look at how this matchup happened.
I'm better than I've ever been, baby. I am on another level. I am on top of the world. Because I am a visionary. I am a revolutionary.
I am. Seth, please forgive the interruption. You are without question one of the most impressive superstars to ever grace a WWE ring. You have accomplished virtually everything there is to accomplish. You're absolutely brilliant. And it's because of those accolades that you've been chosen.
The walking personification of pain, with the ability to inflict as much damage as Omos so chooses.
You all are blessed to be in the age of the Nigerian Giant. I would caution you against making predictions about your future, because when the Nigerian Giant is finished with you, you might not have much of a future after Backlash.
Omos, you are once in a generation because you were born that way. Seth freaking Rollins is once in a generation because I made myself that way. I should be afraid of you, but I'm not. And in Backlash, I'm gonna make your ass famous. I'm gonna give you the match of your life, and then I'm gonna bounce your big head off this canvas.
After Backlash, Seth freaking Rollins will not be the one laughing.
Introducing first, accompanied to the ring by MVP, standing at 7 feet, 3 inches, weighing in at 410 pounds, the Nigerian Giant, Omos!
And Corey, what's quite neat is if you're a member of either the SmackDown or the Raw roster, you may have to deal with this man because he's a free agent.
Absolutely, no one is safe from the wrath of Omos. A brilliant business move negotiated by MVP.
And WWE Backlash is presented by the Xfinity 10G Network. Get a reliable connection and the fastest internet on the next generation 10G network. Only from Xfinity. The future starts now. And by Mike's Harder Lemonade. Lemonade that hits harder for Mikes that go harder. The world needs more Mikes.
MVP negotiated this free agent contract for Omos in the hopes that the entire WWE universe, both Friday Night SmackDown and Monday Night Raw, realize that Omos is in fact what MVP says he is. A big money attraction. And a win tonight over a superstar the caliber of Seth freaking Rollins would add a great deal of credence to MVP's claims about the Nigerian Giant.
And his opponent from Davenport, Iowa, weighing in at 225 pounds, Seth freaking Rollins!
He is a visionary. He is an architect. He is a revolutionary. And he calls himself brilliant. He does not want to hear the WWE fans singing Seth Rollins' song, so he goes right after Rollins.
And listen, I may not like it, but it was a brilliant move by Omos. You need to get any sort of advantage you can muster against someone as dangerous as Seth freaking Rollins, as we look again at the epic move from Omos.
Omos, who outweighs Rollins by nearly 200 pounds, hit a shoulder tackle, knocking Rollins clean out of the air.
I was about to make a comment about how Rollins is brimming with confidence, and it's hard not to when you've got a sold-out arena singing you into battle. But Omos right now just overwhelming Rollins.
You know, tomorrow morning on WWE social channels, as you take another look at the massive Omos, they're going to announce the participants in the World Heavyweight Championship tournament. Seth Rollins said earlier today he hopes to be a part of that if he can make it through this tonight.
An incredibly important matchup for both of these superstars. As I mentioned before, it's massive for Omos' career. And if you're Seth freaking Rollins and you want to earn entry into a World Heavyweight Championship tournament, you need to pick out the biggest dog in the yard and take him down. That's exactly what Rollins is doing.
What did Rollins say? That Omos, once in a generation, born that way. Rollins, once in a generation, made himself that way. As Seth Rollins gets Omos in trouble on the top rope. Omos, though, with a right hand right to the midsection.
For all of Seth Rollins' experience, he has never competed with someone the size of Omos.
Well, Seth promised to make Omos famous tonight. And now Omos mocking the WWE fans.
Well, we knew Omos was going to present a towering challenge to the Visionary. And Rollins has been unable to solve the Nigerian Giant. It's just like it's an iron claw, I believe.
Yeah, he's palming Rollins' face like a basketball.
Terrifying grip strength
possessed by the Nigerian Giant, who just dumped Rollins to the floor.
7'3", 410 pounds with an 87-inch reach. An MVP mocking Rollins.
Omos made it look nearly effortless when he dumped Rollins over the top rope with one hand. And things are about to go from bad to worse for the Architect.
Omos with Rollins up on his shoulders, and Rollins, though, able to drive Omos into the post. And it buys Seth some time.
Rollins looking to take it high risk.
Rollins going to launch himself with a suicide dive. The big man still on his feet. A second one. Omos catching Rollins this time. And a choke slam on the apron.
Rollins' body racked with pain right now.
Well, it's like Rollins was trying to topple a building. Omos just manhandling Rollins. Look at this power.
Unreal.
225-pound man heaved over the top rope by Omos.
Omos stalking Rollins.
Rollins looks like a child. Omos with ease.
Snake eyes.
Rollins off the top turnbuckle and follows it up with a big, big boot. The WWE fans still serenading Rollins with his song, but to no avail.
At this point, Rollins has been rendered completely ineffective. All of his offense has just bounced off of Omos.
I don't know what you do against this man.
Nor do I. But you've got to credit MVP for unlocking the killer instinct inside Omos.
Rollins goes for a sleeper hold now. Sleeper locked in, but Omos slings him away. Enziguri right to the back of the neck, stunning Omos momentarily. Rollins now going to launch himself off the top rope. That glancing knee to the side of the face. Rollins looking to build momentum again. Now trying to chop the big man down. Wise strategy here by Rollins.
This is smart. Rollins needs to get Omos off of his feet if at all possible.
That does it, at least momentarily. Omos down to one knee. Kick to the face. And Seth looking for...
No way.
Is this...
There is no way.
Is this a modified pedigree Rollins is going for? Or at least was attempting, doing a backdrop.
Omos just executed a back body drop from his knees. That is absurd in and of itself. Rollins has not been able to find an answer.
Corey on his knees. Omos is the size of most men anyway.
It's true.
Oh, and Rollins steps out of harm's way. Omos hits the corner hard. Bang! Off the post again.
Rollins positioning himself on the top turnbuckle. You can see the welts forming on the back of the Architect.
Oh, and a tornado DDT by Rollins. The big man's down. Seth Rollins has Omos in trouble. The Giant's off his feet. Rollins heading up to the top rope. Oh, and a frog splash covered by Rollins. And Omos kicks out.
And one. One count off of a frog splash.
And the look of disbelief in the face of Rollins. He cannot believe it. If this was an any old kick out, Corey, talk about a kick out with authority.
The height, the full extension, the tremendous impact. And Omos shrugged Rollins off as if he were nothing.
Now Rollins has to try to figure out, what do I do now? That might have been my only opportunity, my only chance. With Omos on one knee, Rollins delivering the right hands. Omos, though, blocked.
Rolling elbow.
Rollins second row, right to the back of the neck. Down goes Omos.
But only momentarily, almost instantly, Omos back up to all fours.
Rollins looking for this.
Oh my God.
Omos was able to stop the stop. Now a choke slam. Cover on Rollins. And a kick out.
I can't believe this. Nor can MVP, but
Rollins went for the stomp that has taken out everybody in WWE except this man. This is incredible.
Omos just stuffed the stomp attempt from Seth freaking Rollins and followed up with an epic choke slam of his own. What a sight to behold.
Glances down at MVP, who's directing traffic. Now Seth Rollins, though, able to break up the double choke slam just for a minute. Now Seth Rollins on the shoulders of Omos, back to a sleeper.
Desperate Seth Rollins.
And again, Rollins looks for the sleeper.
A brilliant strategy.
This time he's got it locked in pretty good, and Omos is struggling in the middle of the ring.
Even if you're 7'4" and over 400 pounds, you still need to breathe. You still need blood flow to your brain.
Down to one knee. Omos could be fading, Corey. Omos is fading. Or was.
Just that quick. Just that quick.
Side slam. What does Rollins need to do? He's tried everything.
I honestly don't have an answer for that question, Cole. Obviously, neither does Seth freaking Rollins.
MVP now trying to climb in the ring. Referee Jessica Carr going to admonish him. And as that happens, Rollins hits a stop this time. MVP runs into a super kick. Rollins hit a stop. And another one. Cover by Seth. Omos kicks out of not one, but 2 stops.
Rollins looks absolutely petrified. Seth Rollins has put down countless opponents with one of those stops. He just delivered a pair to the Nigerian Giant, and Omos kicked out.
There are very few superstars in the history of WWE that have kicked out of a Seth Rollins stomp, let alone 2 of them.
It seemed implausible at best. Rollins basically trying to stomp a brontosaurus. Seth figured out a way, and it still didn't matter.
Omos struggling to try to make it to his knees. Seth Rollins now going to the top rope. What does Rollins have in mind here? From the top rope, Seth Rollins measuring his man. Rollins with a stop from the top rope. Omos may be out. Rollins with the win.
Here is your winner, Seth freaking Rollins!
Corey, that was a super stop.
And it was absolutely necessary.
I mean, this was a great matchup. And in the end, it took a 3rd stop from the top rope for Rollins to slay the Giant.
From incredible heights. San Juan, that win is cause for celebration.
Tonight only. Save 25% off site-wide.
Welcome to today's side quest. The store run against the clock. Just another day in the life of Mike. Lemonade that hits harder for Mikes that go harder. The world needs more Mikes.
The world needs more Puerto Ricos as well. This is the island of enchantment. San Juan, Puerto Rico, the capital city, hosting WWE Backlash. And once again, at ringside, Michael Cole, Corey Graves, who did pretty well at the casino last night.
Sure did. Had a little luck come my way. It's my first time ever here in Puerto Rico, and it is as advertised. It's absolutely beautiful. The people have been amazing. I can't wait to come back.
Well, yesterday we had the WWE Backlash press conference, which was very well attended and had a confrontation between Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, the global music superstar who is both men are from here in Puerto Rico. Let's show you what happened when Triple H actually had to play peacekeeper. Still to come tonight, one half of our double main event. Two native sons of Puerto Rico, former good friends, will clash in a match where anything goes. Weapons are legal. The rules are thrown out the window. It is a San Juan street fight between Damian Priest and Bad Bunny here at Backlash.
Is a triple threat match, and it is for the United States Championship! Introducing first, from Denver, Colorado, weighing in at 273 pounds, the almighty Bobby Lashley!
Ladies and gentlemen, the former two-time WWE champion, two-time Intercontinental champion, three-time United States champion Bobby Lashley will start calling Friday Night SmackDown home beginning this week. He was strapped into the blue brand in the draft.
I'm not going to lie to you, that one stung a little bit. A little disappointed I won't get to call the action when the Almighty does what he does best. Beat people up.
Bobby Lashley said this week, quote, "I run this place."
Ozzy would beg to differ.
Next, from Black Forest, South Australia, weighing in at 330 pounds, Bronson Reed!
Corey, Bronson Reed, who says, "I will beat and break you," has been nearly unbeatable since joining the main roster a number of months ago.
It's one of the reasons Bronson Reed was drafted back to Monday Night Raw. This man has proven to be a force of nature. Lashley and Bronson Reed, no strangers to one another. They've had some seriously high-impact clashes recently. But selfishly, I'm sort of hoping Bronson Reed takes the United States Championship and brings it back to Monday Night Raw. Even if it means taking it off this guy.
Georgia, weighing in at 220 pounds, he is the United States Champion, Austin Theory!
The man who will now call Friday Night SmackDown his new home, Austin Theory, who since winning the United States Championship in a triple threat match against Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley back at Survivor Series, has been a survivor, remaining champion. But tonight, again, under triple threat rules, Corey, the odds are not in the champ's favor.
Austin Theory knows that full well, that the odds, in fact, are stacked against him. In a triple threat match, it just matters who's towards the first pinfall or submission, which means Bronson Reed could pin Bobby Lashley and become United States champion.
Yeah, it's sudden death style. There's no champion's advantage here tonight. Austin Theory, the man who beat John Cena at WrestleMania.
And Theory, with that victory, should have silenced all of the doubters, yet so many remain. Get used to it. You are looking at the future of WWE in the current United States champion.
And what Austin Theory says is, love me or hate me, you know, I'm that dude.
Theory has proved that there is no opponent too big, no moment too daunting. John Cena at WrestleMania.
He doesn't get
showed
any
up
bigger.
and did it.
Doesn't get any bigger.
You may not like Austin Theory, but you have no choice but to believe.
Theory, the obnoxious narcissist, set to defend the United States Championship against two huge men. Here he goes at Lashley. Shoulder tackle from the 273-pounder.
And Austin Theory is a big human being, yet he's outsized by both Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley in this scenario.
Bronson Reed, Corey, goes 330 pounds.
Yet Reed moves like a man half that size.
Lashley burying his shoulder and now sending Theory toward Reed, who says, not that way. And that'll take Reed down, though. The clothesline by Lashley, who's got a chip on his shoulder.
Bobby Lashley lives life with a boulder on his shoulder. Lashley wakes up in the morning and wants to fight. It's what makes Bobby happy. Tell Lashley he can't do something, he'll do it just to spite you.
Austin Theory realizing that a submission would have given the championship to Lashley, saves the title for himself. And now Austin Theory unloading on Bobby Lashley. I talked to Bobby earlier today, Corey, and I asked him about coming to Friday Night SmackDown and what it meant to him. He looked me in the eye, and you know what he said? Roman Reigns.
For some reason, knowing Bobby as well as I do, I'm not at all surprised.
And Lashley now, the power, the vertical suplex to Austin Theory.
Letting all the blood rush to the champion's head before impact.
Absolutely incredible physical specimen is Bobby Lashley.
The physique that looks like it was chiseled from Mount Olympus itself.
And Theory taking.
Oh!
And a splash down the spine. You saw Theory took out Lashley, and then that surprised look on his face when Reed delivered the splash.
Listen, it's a smart strategy. You're going to have to find temporary alliances in a triple threat match. Yes, it's every man for himself, but it would behoove you all to be able to work together at times.
And that's what Reed and Theory are doing, at least in part.
Both Reed and Theory have a healthy professional respect for what Bobby Lashley's capable of. They both experienced the Almighty firsthand.
And you take Bobby out, Corey, you make it a one-on-one match, at least momentarily. Better your odds a little bit. Now Bobby chants from this sold-out crowd here tonight. Puerto Rico, Bronson Reed just bowling through Bobby Lashley.
Human steamroller. Discussing strategy for a moment. The United States champion in one of his challenges, the colossal Bronson Reed. Oh! I heard of running into a brick wall, but what do you do when a brick wall runs into you?
And again, just take another look.
Whoa! Lashley just nearly put Reed through the ring.
And Theory as well, a one-arm slam by Lashley. Bobby Lashley, he is so stoic. Quiet mayhem is what I like to call it. There's the spear to Theory. Cover to win the championship. And Bronson Reed gonna drag Lashley out of the ring. And a big kick by Reed. So agile for a big man. It's incredible what Bronson Reed can accomplish.
What is Bronson Reed thinking? Oh my God!
Oh goodness! Oh my goodness! He may have separated Lashley's shoulder. 330 pounds.
Look at this.
This is like getting hit by a falling boulder in an avalanche.
A meteor falling out of the sky on top of the Almighty. I wouldn't be surprised if Lashley was about 2 inches shorter tomorrow morning.
Reed, just a mammoth of a man.
And we know what Bronson likes to do up there. Up in Theory at the last second just prevented Reed from delivering a tsunami that very well may have crowned a new United States champion.
Yeah, Austin Theory realizing that his title was slipping away, and now Theory turning his attention to Bobby Lashley, looking to put Lashley away. Lashley though from behind.
Bobby Lashley locked down.
Hurt lock by Lashley, countering the 8-pound down. Is Theory going to tap or pass out to crown the new United States champion? Theory using the rope to his advantage. Falls into a cover and forces Bobby to kick out. Cover! New champ, Theory breaks it up.
Wow. What a sequence of events.
Sold out. 17,944 WWE fans here to witness this.
Theory taking a page out of Bobby Lashley's own book. Followed up by the tsunami of Bronson Reed that might have crowned a new champion had the reigning champion not broken up the fall.
Triple threat rules. First man to gain pinfall or submission will become the United States champion. No champion's advantage for Austin Theory.
See Austin Theory favoring his ribs before turning his attention to Reed.
Big left by Theory.
Rolls through. Oh!
Jumping blockbuster.
And Theory thinks he's closing in on a retention.
Can Theory do it? Can Theory muscle up Reed?
Power of Theory. Can he get the 330-pounder up? No.
Momentarily.
Power slam.
And now the gargantuan Ozzy with a little bit of daylight. From the top.
Moonsault, nobody home. Spear! Theory dumps Lashley. Theory looks to take advantage, and he retains the title.
Here is your winner, and still the United States champion, Austin Theory!
I told you before, right? He's a survivor. No doubt about it.
Lady Luck is smiling down on the island of Puerto Rico this weekend. No doubt about it. But with the odds stacked firmly against him, Austin Theory finds a way. Look at this, is absolutely unbelievable. A 355-pound moonsault, nobody home, a spear by Lashley. Theory gets rid of the Almighty and capitalizes the markings of a true champion.
Here is your winner,
Lashley knew he had it. He had it.
Unfortunately for Austin Theory, the Almighty's going to take that disappointment with him to Friday Night SmackDown.
That's Theory's new home as well.